Welcome back. This afternoon, the region's Professional Firefighters Association launched a campaign called For Firefighters, For Your Safety. Tonight, we're joined by Glenn Miller. He's the president of the Atlantic Provinces chapter of that association. He is in Charlottetown. Good to see you, Glenn Miller.
Nice to see you, Todd. Thanks for having me.
You unveiled this at a news conference on the island this afternoon. It's aimed at lawmakers, governments. What is it you're asking for?
Well, across the Atlantic provinces, we have staffing challenges. You know, the data clearly shows that in order to conduct safe initial fireground operations, each engine or ladder company should be consisted of at least 4 firefighters. That currently is not the situation, and we're shining the spotlight on that while we're in Charlottetown.
Okay. Staffing not at industry standard is what the release says. You cover the 4 Atlantic provinces, so are you suggesting that all 4 provinces have below staffing levels?
In one respect or another. Some it's on initial response, others, like in Halifax, for instance, their ladder trucks are only staffed with 2 firefighters, and their tanker trucks are only staffed with 2 firefighters. So it's not just an issue with the smaller fire departments, but even the larger fire departments in Atlantic Canada have challenges.
What's at risk?
Public and firefighter safety.
Just as plain as that.
Nutshell.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
In the release, you said that the number of firefighters on staff also continues to decrease. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, we're being asked on a constant basis to do more with less, especially most fire departments now respond to medical calls, and the unfortunate situation we have in a lot of communities now with overdoses and the unhoused has really put a strain on our resources. So when our members are responding to that, we're left even shorter when it comes to responding to fire calls.
So we have a growing population pretty much around Atlantic Canada. How has that impacted your membership?
Well, if I can give you for instance, in the city of Moncton, they now have 5 fire stations. They have increased their manning by 1 firefighter since the 70s.
1 firefighter
That's
since
just
the
one
70s.
example. In Charlottetown, they only have 3 firefighters on duty at their main downtown core fire station. And there are instances where there may only be 2 responding on the apparatus if there's a call. And as indicated in our press release or press conference this afternoon, one member in Charlottetown reported on an incident he was involved in October of last year where 2 firefighters and 2 civilians nearly lost their lives.
Glenn, is there a jurisdiction you and your colleagues look at and say, that's the kind of thing we should be trying to replicate in maritime cities? Is there a city elsewhere in Canada or a province elsewhere in Canada where you believe it's being done to the level that you'd like to see it?
Most of the major urban centers staff their frontline apparatus with 4 firefighters, but where even the larger centers can be challenged, especially when you talk about high-rise buildings, is the amount of firefighters you need on scene within the first 20 minutes in order to effective rescue. You know, if you have multiple people that need to be rescued, then you're going to need multiple resources in order to effectively do that. So some of the larger centers are still challenged in trying to meet that standard. But most importantly for us, we need 4 firefighters on that first fire truck out the door responding to a call.
We saw, and I think it was just last week, the city of Halifax unveiled its cadet class who will be entering the fire service in the city. The city of Moncton, we reported on not long ago, hired new firefighters. So the new ones are coming on, but what needs to happen? Does there need to be more intake at the schools, or is it the separate cities that have to do that? How would that work? How would you get those numbers up?
Well, each jurisdiction is responsible for their own fire service, and they determine the level of service they provide. But I don't think it's a matter of hiring. It's one thing if you hire 20 firefighters, but if 15 retired the year before, then you really don't get much of a net gain in the level of protection. So we struggle, it seems, to keep up with the growth of municipalities with respect to our emergency response services. And that seems, like you said yourself, every place in Atlantic Canada is growing. The population base is increasing, which means the demand for resources is growing, but we're not keeping up with that demand. And that's where we're really starting to be challenged.
Yeah, if we can, let's go back to something you mentioned a moment ago, and that's the different types of calls that you're getting. You mentioned that you're answering, and we've done a lot of reporting on fires at tent encampments, of course, motor vehicle accidents, and the various like. How has that changed? Is that changing? And what risks come with those?
Well, every call has an associated risk.
Sure.
Whether it be, homeless encampments, often have propane tanks in them that we don't know about. Vehicle accidents now with lithium-ion batteries and electric vehicles are extremely dangerous and present their own risk and hazard of explosion. And we struggle sometimes to keep up with the training and being at the forefront of those things. But most importantly is the fact that we can buy all the equipment in the world, we can buy all the apparatus in the world, but if you don't have bodies in seats responding to those calls effectively, then we are going to continue to have unfortunate incidents like happened here in October of last year in Charlottetown. And we have close calls on a regular basis that often go unreported. And
I should make the point that we're talking about professional firefighters in Atlantic Canada. We know there is a wide swath of volunteer fire departments across our region, and we know the difficulties they've had with getting gear and volunteers and the rest. So, Glenn Miller, thank you very much in Charlottetown tonight. We appreciate you speaking to us about this.
And thank you.
We'll take a time out. We've got lots more of your local news on the other side. Stay with us.